So this morning I wanted to talk about security classifications. I recognize that within the cybersecurity arena, a large percentage of the jobs are outside of the federal government, but the focus of this group, the primary focus, is to help people get cybersecurity jobs in the federal government. So security classification is a big deal. It's something you must know about to be in the federal government anyway. Everybody is required to learn about security classifications, even if you're, a pencil pusher or you color the lines on the baseball field. It doesn't matter. You're required to learn about security classification. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to bring up this article that I saw. It says FBI employee indicted for stealing classified info on FBI cybersecurity work. So the first thing that springs to mind would be things like what? When you hear things like this, what comes to mind?
By looking at the header, it's talking about classified information, but yeah, the keyword is classified. So you can also initially maybe just think that about it was so anything related to cybersecurity. But now that I read it, I think I read the article when he published it. Mm-hmm. Then I noticed it was classified information, really deep stuff. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's easy to miss these types of words here, keywords like classified. So I think somebody is in trouble.
Well, okay, let me kind of zero in on what I'm trying to help people understand in this. When you hear about stealing classified, you start thinking about Chelsea Manning. You start thinking about Edward Snowden.
Mm-hmm.
You start thinking about spies that are selling classified information to the Russians or whatever, that sort of thing. Because that's what is juicy. That's what sells. That's what people make movies about, and that sort of thing. So a lot of people immediately say, well, I'm not that bad, and therefore they're okay. But that's not the case here. What actually occurred is this individual took classified materials home and nothing else. That's all this person did. They took classified materials home, and that was it. All right. So the first thing I sort of wanted to cover was what makes something classified. All right. And we're starting, at the very basics here, because again, if you're learning from the media, you're like, all you hear is people say, well, that's top secret, or that's above top secret, or, that sort of thing. Well, again, that is the entertainment industry. They're not designed to be a source of education. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you got to be really careful. Also, headlines. Headlines in articles, in websites, etc. They are designed to be as juicy as possible without lying so that you'll click on it. Why? Because the more people click on it, the higher the revenue from advertisers for that site. So they want it to be juicy. They get money when something is juicy. That does not mean they're trying to be balanced and objective. They want you to click it, so they make money. So their intentions are frequently not the same as yours. You want to hear about what went on, but they want you to click on their story. So be very, very careful when you're looking at all of these things out there. You know, what was the... oh, there was this one, and I can't even remember. They call them aggregators, where they bring in all sorts of information, and then they spin it to make it look good. You know, it's sort of like the National Enquirer on the web. It's like, huh? You know, oh, I got to find out what they're talking about here. You know, Sylvester Stallone in jail? What? Well, he went to jail to visit his friend, you know, or whatever. You know, so be careful. Don't get drawn in by the headlines. So when we talk about classified data, materials, the most important thing you're supposed to pay attention to, something becomes classified because of its sensitivity. All right, that's a good word to use here. And there are keywords that are used for determining the amount of sensitivity, how highly sensitive something is. So, for example, top secret, it says this is for information the unauthorized disclosure of which reasonably could be expected to cause exceptionally grave damage to our national security. Okay? Exceptionally grave damage if disclosed. Unauthorized disclosure. Okay? So secret is below that, and it says that is if unauthorized disclosure will cause serious damage to national security. And then confidential is defined as information that, if disclosed, would damage national security without proper authorization. So there are three main levels. There are other, quasi levels, but the main ones are confidential, which means that would damage the government. Secret, that would seriously damage the federal government. And the third is top secret, which is exceptionally grave damage. So, for example, something that would be classified confidential would be something like, I don't know, the location of some of our embassies overseas, or some of the materials that they handle could be considered classified. But if somebody,
I'm sorry, what about PPI?
PPI is not classified. PPI is information that is protected by the, what's it called?
It's a Privacy Act or something.
The Privacy Act of 1974. That's right.
Okay.
That's not classification. That's private information.
That would probably fall under public trust, maybe.
I'm sorry?
That would probably fall under public trust.
No, it is not. No, because remember, we're talking about your private information. We're not talking about the government's information.
Okay.
All right? Classification only applies to government information. They can't classify your phone number. See what I'm saying? So, your phone number, your home phone number is considered PPI, but it's not classified. Okay. So that's sort of a great way to divide the two. So there are other things. There's like you were saying, personal privacy information, or personal identifying information. I think that's what it stands for, PII. There are also levels of what would be considered to be sensitive information. Like, I remember long ago in the military, they called it EEFI, Essential Elements of Friendly Information. They weren't classified, but you can obtain them from unclassified sources, but when you put them all together, they give you insight into what could be classified information. And the perfect example they gave was, well, let's say a shoe company gets an immediate order for the delivery of 2,000 pairs of combat boots, desert combat boots. Then somebody else, an airplane company gets a charter for 1,000 seats to fly to Bahrain. And then, et cetera, somebody gets stuff for meals and all of the employees at a particular base have their leave canceled for a particular time. You put that all together and it says, during this time frame, this group of people are going on this type of flight to this area of the world, which in itself could be classified. Mm-hmm. But you learned it all from unclassified sources. So that, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Scott. I just remember that there's something right now that's, I think, recent that I don't know under which type of confidential it falls, but confidential information. But I think Google Maps kind of put that together, some information from some flashcards, and now they disclose all the locations of where I think nuclear weapons are located in Europe. Mm-hmm. Did you see that the news?
No, I don't remember that, but that's the sort of information that we're talking about, and that's why in the federal government people tend to be very sensitive, very prickly about giving information out to anybody. Mm-hmm. Because it may not in itself be classified, but it may provide some clarification on something that is classified. Mm-hmm. So that's why, people are sensitive. I'll just say that. You don't want to give away something that ends up causing, lives to be lost, literally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just think about it that way. But this was for an individual, and here's what I think. FBI employee. Well, the FBI is in the news a lot now anyway. Mm-hmm. So FBI is automatically, ooh, here's something to listen to. And stealing classified info. Ooh, that sounds just like Edward Snowden. Well, not really. But Edward Snowden actually carried that information to a foreign government and handed it to them. That's the difference. And Chelsea Manning did the same thing. Not only stole it, but then turned it over to other people who had no right to possess it. That's different than stealing, taking it home. Mm-hmm. And then it talks about cybersecurity. Ooh, that's another juicy word. So this headline was designed to make people click on it. But the issue was this individual took classified material home and didn't return it. That's it. This mm-hmm. person did not spy, did not make contact with the Soviet embassy the Russian embassy, did not attempt to sell it, wasn't trying to obtain extra money or whatever. This person, in an unauthorized manner, took classified information home. So I wanted to talk about that because the highest profile case in recent memory of somebody who did that is a former director of the CIA, John Deutch, who did pretty much the same thing. The difference is that, among other things, John Deutch took stuff home and remarked it as unclassified in order to help with his conscience. But it was classified information. And he used it at home. And oh, by the way, John Deutch, I know for a fact, John Deutch loved apples. So he was using classified information on his Mac. He had his room set up as a SCIF. He had, the security alarms on the door. He had a safe, etc. But he had an unclassified personal Mac in that office, and that's what he would use because he's more comfortable with Macs. And what happened was the Inspector General for the CIA conducted a great big investigation, determined that he had indeed taken classified materials home, and just before the Justice Department was ready to file charges against him, Bill Clinton pardoned him on his last day in office. And John Deutch is now a professor at MIT. So, here's this FBI employee that made the news for taking classified material home. Somebody else, high profile, took classified material home. He's teaching at MIT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, is it bad? Yes. Does it result in indictment? It should. But this is not spying. This is what I would say is extremely careless handling of classified materials. Not exactly the same thing. It's like you take a secret document and you stick it in your car and you leave it there. Well, your car is not designed to protect classified information. So therefore, you have subjected that document to the risk of disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't disclosed it, but you've subjected it to the risk of disclosure. So from a classified standpoint, and this is what you learn in the federal government, we all do, you are required to protect documents and information at the highest level of classification that is due that particular document. Let's say there's a big monstrous document. I'm just going to use this as an example, and it's got unclassified, 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 one line of secret. Oh, by the way, this is for this. Unclassified, 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 unclassified. This entire document and everything in it then becomes classified at the highest level of anything in that document. So this is a secret document because it has this one thing about, oh yeah, this. That's a secret statement included in an otherwise unclassified document. That makes it a secret document. And you have to protect the entire document as secret. You can't take certain parts out and say, oh, well, this is unclassified, and just skip that. This is considered a secret document. So, and oh, by the way, it has to be protected as secret. That means you've got to lock it up in a, let's see, I think there's a photo here of a safe. This is a GSA-approved classified safe for storing classified materials.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from the 1980s or 1990s, but they're still around. So that's the important thing to remember about federal information. You can't do like Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden and give it to somebody because you think that it shouldn't be classified, or you think that, like Snowden did, the world deserves to know this. That's why Edward Snowden, the moment he steps back into the United States, will be put in chains and taken to jail.
But it's incredible how people out there want him to be, pardoned or something.
Sure.
Lots
well,
of people.
He had what I would say is a noble intent. And that is, he saw what he thought was unethical federal government programs. And he tried to point out within the federal government that we shouldn't be doing this. And he was basically told, go away, leave us alone. And that's when he said, well, I need to get this to somebody who, so, they can. He literally was trying to blow the whistle on the federal government. But he did it in a manner that divulged classified information in an unauthorized manner. That's called treason.
Treason, yeah.
No
less than that.
So, You know, just something to remember about classified information. Regardless of whether Edward Snowden was right in his thinking, his activities were wrong. His activities were illegal. And the same with Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning turned over, it was 250,000 documents to WikiLeaks, some of which were classified. You know?
Yeah, that's another place that, that a lot of people want this guy pardoned. What's his name? The guy from WikiLeaks. Yeah.
Yeah, Assange.
It's just the way things are going now. Okay.
Yep.
No, but
so
I
anyway.
mean, the worst part is when they get pardoned by doing things that are like something else that another CIA former director, I think. He's not a director, he was a big shot in the CIA, but I think he was a former director. He's a military guy. He was having an affair, and he revealed a lot of information to the woman. I think the woman was he was having an affair with was a journalist. And then they didn't do anything to him because of the service.
Right.
I can't remember. But,
right.
You know, it makes you think, why are we doing it? Why are we spending so much money?
Yep.
And so many resources.
Yep.
In trying to keep national security, and they all, oh, you're forgiven.
Yeah, I'm not going to divulge too much information, but in a previous job that I held in the federal government, I was doing IT support for someone else in the federal government, an extremely high, federally, how do I say this, Senate-approved position. Okay, this individual was approved by name by the United States Senate to be in that position. Senior executive service in the federal government. And I found child porn on this guy's laptop. He had been using his laptop at home to dial into child porn bulletin boards and pull down, you know, smut. The moment I found it, I was like, boss, I am not touching that computer again. And we called the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the OSI. They came in, said, thank you very much, walked out the door. This individual lost his position, but he wasn't tried. He ended up going over to a defense contractor and getting a senior consultant job there because of all of the things that he had known from his illustrious military career and blah, 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 you know, all of that. So here's the thing. I didn't use that to get sour on the whole process, the whole system. I used that as one of the things that defined me to where I know that I must fight for what's good. I must fight to defend and protect the federal government. But that doesn't mean to attack other people or other processes. There are inspector generals out there. The inspector general program is designed to be totally independent of anyone else that could turn around and say, oh, no, that's not us, you know, or it's not what it looks like or whatever. The inspector general is designed to be outside of that level of chain of command, so you can't pressure the IG. Mm-hmm. There's also the federal whistleblower programs. Those are designed to go to Congress, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there are means to address these things other than taking it on yourself. Well, the world deserves to know what I have on my thumb drive. No. It's not your job to determine the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't work for the government then if you don't like it.
Right.
Get out there and become one of those protesters.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's
it's terrible, but
work toward good, but don't lay your reputation on the line doing so. Chelsea Manning went to jail. Edward Snowden is, prohibited from coming back to the U.S. because he will also be thrown in jail.
Yeah.
So,
but you also got for Manning, Chelsea Manning also got he got forgiven, right? He was forgiven at some point, or commuted his sentence.
Yeah, I have a feeling that somebody
I think
tried. I don't know for sure, but I do know that the federal government locked him up and then paid for his sex change operation. To her at federal government expense. So all I know is that that's not the end that you should seek in your life, to go to jail because you think of something so strongly.
Yeah.
Work within the system.
That's also true. Just real quick, I'm gonna read you just the header of the news. It came out yesterday, and it was on the Telegraph that from the UK.
Okay.
The header says, U.S. soldiers reveal locations of nuclear weapons in Europe by posting details of online flashcards and foreign claims. So, I don't know what kind of information would that be. Locations of base of I mean, involves nuclear weapons. I think it would be a little bit higher than.
Right. Locations of nuclear weapons material is always classified at the secret level or higher, I believe. At secret or higher. That it's there could be at the secret level, but what exactly it is could be at the top secret level. It's a blah, blah, blah bomb or missile with a blah, blah, blah warhead that has blah, blah, blah tons of yield or whatever. That could be at the top secret level.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't. And the individuals who classify all of these materials must, under federal law, review the classification every X number of years to determine if it must be declassified. So you don't just classify it and leave it. You have to classify it and then review it every few years to say, is it still deserving of classification?
Okay. So we're talking about the information itself.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I had for today. Okay. So I'm going to turn off the recording, but I thank you, Doug, for being part of this, and I hope somebody gets some understanding out of this, because like I said, in the federal government, this is going to be something that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, regardless of where you work, especially in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So you've got to know about it.
That information, from what I was reading, and I was reading your post, actually, I remember now. It contained things that very, very confidential. I would say maybe secret or top secret, because it involved, the methods, the methods used by the FBI to keep things secure, or also to counterintelligence, like, for example, how to not just prevent, but how to break into, if needed, if they would break into, if they needed to break into something, or to defend themselves.
Right.
So those are really, we're talking about big leagues.
Yeah. Remember though, there's a difference between setting it at risk and actually disclosing it. Okay, and there's also intent in there. If you get home and all of a sudden you pull in your pocket and you go, oh darn, I forgot that I left this, and so what do? You lock it in your freezer or something overnight, and then take it back in and say, I'm really sorry, but here's what I did, or call up the police station and say, can you guys keep this, or whatever. The intent is different and can be taken into account. For example, many, like late 1970s, I remember on an unclassified line, I accidentally divulged classified information. And I got an absolutely stern talking to by the senior member in my branch, and then went back to work. I divulged classified material on an unclassified transmission line. I didn't realize it was classified. I didn't remember that it was classified because I worked with it every single day. So, you know, my boss was like, "Don't ever do that again." I'm like, "You can bet I won't."
Yeah. Sometimes that's certain things that will make you remember for life, forever.
Yep.
Yep. Wow. So maybe I can post this over there on the website, because it's interesting the way that they didn't want to disclose it, but they used some flashcards to remember things.
Right.
And that's how they were posted somewhere or saved somewhere. I don't remember how. I just skimmed through it, and Google, because they had, I think they were geotagged or something. The Google Maps was able to gather, you know, connect data, like you said. You know, these goods are being sold. How many thousands of goods? Okay, and then there's not any goods, desert goods. You know,
right.
So they grab all this, they put together that information, and they came up with that, and it was posted. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that the cloud is safe, but that's not the case, especially with Google.
So yeah, I'm going to, if you're okay with it, I'm going to post it online on the.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That would be great. Okay.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Scotty.
Have a great day and a great holiday weekend.
Yeah, you too. I was about to say. Thanks.